Hi there. Um, I'm going to be a little bit quiet because both of my kids are asleep. So this may be a little unintentionally ASMR like because I'm going to have to be doing a lot of whispering. So I hope I'm putting the microphone very close to my mouth, and I hope that this will be loud enough for you to hear me. So let's try it. I'm going to do a little bit. Notice that some of you were having some difficulties with the grammar. And so I'm going to try and do a couple very short videos with some questions about different things just to see where the issues are, right? Just for you and me to figure out where is exactly are the issues there, okay? And so we're going to do a little bit today on subject, agent, and object. Right, so I'm going to share my screen. Come over to this one. All right. So there. Okay. Okay. So case in German, uh, part one of a series. If you guys like these, if these are at all helpful. So subject, agent, and object. I'd like you to stop and read these sentences or read them along with me as I read them aloud. Der Vogel wird beobachtet. Der Vogel wird beobachtet. Wir beobachten den Vogel. Wir beobachten den Vogel. Der Ball wurde geworfen. Der Ball wurde geworfen. You can do a little intonation practice too if you want. Ich warf den Ball. Ich warf den Ball. Der Aufsatz ist geschrieben worden. Der Aufsatz ist geschrieben worden. Er hat den Aufsatz geschrieben. Er hat den Aufsatz geschrieben. Okay, so pause and identify the subject of the sentence. Okay, the subject, whatever the subject means. Right? What is the grammatical subject of each sentence? And if you can't do it fast, just pause the video. I went ahead and highlighted the ones on the right in English as well. So usually we talk about the subject being the thing, or at least this is how I say it. It's the thing that verbs. Der Vogel wird beobachtet. The bird is being watched. The bird is, the verb here is, right? The bird is, der Vogel wird. Yeah? Wir beobachten den Vogel. We are watching. So wir beobachten. Whatever you put that verb with, wir beobachten. That is the subject. So der Ball wurde, ich warf, the ball was, I threw, right? Der Aufsatz ist, yeah, the essay has, hat, he has, or he wrote, right? So our subject is the thing that verbs. Now, the grammatical subject is not always the thing that is doing the action. I know sometimes you might have been told the subject is the thing that is doing the action, and the object is the thing that's receiving the action. But it's a little bit more complex. The grammatical subject is the thing that verbs, but some verbs aren't really actions. So der Vogel wird beobachtet. The bird is being watched. That is there isn't an action, right? Is being watched is the full construction, but is our conjugated verb. The bird is. Watching is an action. Being watched isn't really an action, but even so, is our verb. So the bird is not doing the action. The subject of the sentence is not always the thing that's doing the action. It's the thing that verbs. So wir beobachten den Vogel. We are watching the bird, right? In those senses, in both of those, we are both the subject and we're the thing doing the action. But in the first sentence, the bird isn't doing anything, right? We are the ones doing it. We are watching the bird or somebody else. In the first sentence in German, we don't even know who's watching it, right? Der Vogel wird beobachtet. The bird is being watched, right? The bird is the grammatical subject. Der Vogel is the grammatical subject, but is not what we call the agent. The agent has nothing to do with grammar. It has something to do with what we call semantics, and that means the meanings of the words. So just because something is the grammatical subject doesn't mean that it's also the agent. So I hope you remember the difference between passive and active. The passive sentence doesn't require an agent. You could say, der Vogel wird von uns beobachtet, but that's a prepositional phrase. And you don't need it. You don't need prepositional phrases, right? So der Vogel wird beobachtet. The bird is being watched. This is a passive sentence. The passive sentence is when something is being done to the grammatical subject. So in the second sentence, the grammatical subject is the agent. So we have this congruous thing, right? Wir, right? We are the thing doing the action, and we're also the grammatical subject. Okay, so some more sentences. Mir passt das Hemd nicht. Mir passt das Hemd nicht. Dieser Kuchen schmeckt mir prima. Dieser Kuchen schmeckt mir prima. Die Hausaufgabe macht mir keinen Spaß. Die Hausaufgabe macht mir keinen Spaß. Mir geht es gut heute. Mir geht es gut heute. Okay, so I'd like you to pause. And again, if this is too fast, pause the video and identify the subject in each of the sentences. Okay, so the subject of the sentence, das Hemd, the grammatical subject, dieser Kuchen, die Hausaufgabe, and es. So again, the grammatical subject is not always the thing that's doing the action. Mir passt das Hemd nicht. Dieser Kuchen schmeckt mir prima. Die Hausaufgabe macht mir keinen Spaß. Mir geht es gut heute. In these sentences, the thing that is the grammatical subject isn't doing anything, right? The shirt isn't doing anything. I'm trying to fit into the shirt, but the shirt isn't doing an action. The cake isn't doing anything. I'm the one tasting the cake, but the cake isn't doing anything. The homework isn't doing anything, right? I have to interact with it. I have to do it. But the homework itself doesn't do anything by itself, right? And even this, mir geht es gut heute. What is es, right? What is it? It's going well. It's nothing. It's what we call a dummy subject. There's nothing there that it is going. Yeah, it's just the way that we make that construction, right? So in all of these, I am the agent, but I'm not the subject of the sentence. I'm in the dative case. So all of these constructions, they put the person doing the actions into the dative case. Some might argue that the dative case has more agency than the accusative case. So the nominative case you would think may have the most agency because it's the subject, but oftentimes we find that the dative case has the most agency. Okay, so some more sentences. Sie ruft mich heute an. Sie ruft mich heute an. Ich kenne ihn nicht. Ich kenne ihn nicht. Der Mann kauft einen Computer. Der Mann kauft einen Computer. Du schaffst das. Du schaffst das. Okay. So quickly identify the subject in each four and pause if you need to. Okay, so here our subject is sie, as in sie ruft mich heute an. Sie goes with the verb rufen, so it becomes sie ruft. Ich kenne, that's why it's kenne, not kennt. Yeah? Ich kenne. Der Mann kauft und du schaffst. Yeah? Our subject goes with our verb, and our verb conjugates for the subject. So now I want you to look at these words right here that I have highlighted in blue. How would you describe these words? They're not the subject. What would you call them? So in German, these words right here, we would call them accusative objects, or we could also call them direct objects. They're receiving the direct action from the verb, right? I say they're being verbed, right? So sie ruft mich an, yeah? So she's calling me, right? Ich kenne ihn, I know him. Or ich kenne ihn nicht, I know him not. I don't know him. Der Mann kauft einen Computer. So all of these things are the things being verbed. And usually when things are being verbed, usually they're in the accusative case, but not all the time. Okay, there's some more. Sie folgt mir auf Twitter. Sie folgt mir auf Twitter. Ihm glaube ich nicht. Ihm glaube ich nicht. Ich gratuliere dir. Ich gratuliere dir. Du fehlst mir. Du fehlst mir. Okay, so again, hopefully you've got the hang of it now. Read those four and identify the subject. Okay. So sie folgt. Yeah? She follows. Sie folgt. Ich glaube. Yeah? I believe. Okay. Ich gratuliere. I congratulate. And du fehlst. You miss. Yeah? You are missing. Okay. So, how would we describe these words? They're not the subject. What are they? So let's start with English. In English, just like with the four sentences that we did a couple slides back, these me, him, you, these would just be described as objects. We don't make a difference in English between direct and indirect objects. You may have to do that in an English class, but we don't make any difference. We don't have a hin and him, right? Or a me and a mir. We don't have that. It's just an object. If it's an object, it looks like that. If it's a subject, it looks different. So your subject is I, and your object is me, and your subject is he, and your object is him. And you looks the same. But sometimes, and especially I've heard here in Kentucky, this hymn's precious. I never heard that before. That's not in my dialect. Definitely has. Me and Joe went to the store. I say that all the time. That is 100% Texan. We always say me and so are going wherever. And this idea of hymn's precious. I've seen that. I've heard that. People say that to my said that to my kids. I've heard it said about a dog. This form in spoken English, it's so obvious now that it has nothing to do with case, right? If you can say me and Joe are going to the store, that's not case, right? So what I think is happening, and I need to research this and look it up a little bit, but what makes sense to me is that these forms, the him, you, me, these are all forms that are less agentive. Basically, you're making it like if it's a small baby that can't talk or a pet or whatnot, pets don't have much agency. They have more agency than, say, homework, but they don't have much agency. And by making it a him or hers precious, you're even making them cuter and smaller and less agentive. In the same form, me and Joe, I'm reducing my own individual agency. I'm saying, well, I'm not that important as an individual person. I'm talking about me and so, this group of people together, me and so. So I'm reducing my individual agency. Now, that's just my pet theory, but it makes sense. So if we look at this, really what I'm trying to say is English is not at all like German. It's just not. And when somebody tries to tell you that English is like German with objects and subjects, maybe Shakespearean English, but no, English isn't like German. So try to not translate from English into German if you can. In German, these words are dative objects. So this is what I was doing in the last video, but I think it wasn't as clear. These are kind of dative direct objects in a sense. I don't want to call them that, but they're not indirect objects. They're not benefiting, like it's not the same thing as ich gebe meiner Mutter eine Blume, right? That's a different type of thing, right? I'm still giving something to her. But these, I'm not following to, or she's not following to me, she's following me, right? I'm not believing to him, not really. So there's something about these. Now you could argue, again, which I do sometimes, that the dative is a more agentive case. And so in the sense of, especially the Izzy Foyt Mia of Twitter, if she's following me, then I guess I have more agency because she's just following me. If I'm believing someone, well, they're the one that's making a statement or something, and I'm only judging whether I think it's good or not. I don't know. This doesn't work for everything. Honestly, the best thing to do is just to memorize the verbs that take the dative and just go, you know what? These verbs, when they're verbing something, they make it dative. And I just have to memorize them. And honestly, I still look some of them up and I have been taking German longer than most of you have been alive. So, and I'm still looking stuff up. So it's okay to look stuff up. But yeah, they are not indirect objects. So just so that's clear, right? These are more like direct objects, except they're dative. So just you just say the verbs take the dative, and these are dative objects. Okay, so that's all for me for tonight. For I think for this week, unless I am able to record something else. Um, I hope that this is a little bit slower and more easier to follow. Let's say that. I'm also going to put this into a quiz. You're watching this inside of a quiz right now, so you can have some instant feedback and see where you're, when you're not doing well, you can kind of see where you need to focus rather than waiting for a while to get feedback from me and having to recorrect things. Okay, so I think that's it. I hope you're all doing better. I know it's super, super boring, but let's try and think of creative ways to keep ourselves motivated. I am very much up for suggestions. So, yeah. All right. Signing off.